What's going on, everybody? Jacob Shoup, yet again, was on with you this morning. We were joined by Teddy Keckstat, of course, the Tiger Forex Report. Strongly recommend checking out that newsletter. You can do so on the newsletter tab of TFNN. If you missed that interview that I had with Teddy, I really recommend checking that out. I love having him on. We went through, issues with the currency pairs. Is this move necessarily an indicator that we're beginning on an uptrend, relative to what, the USD Japanese yen is doing, relative to the euro dollar, relative to the yields. And then we spoke a little bit about crude oil as well. So definitely check that out. You can go to our YouTube channel, Tiger Financial News Network, and check out the archive from today. Man, quite a pairing, at least, of some of the gains that we had earlier. When I was on the show earlier today, we had the market up by, it was nearly 3% to the upside in the SPY, trading up 1.66%, now at 536.10. Pull this out just a little bit to kind of see how far we've come this morning. I don't buy it. If you play, and again, I'm talking from my own perspective and what I like to invest in and how I like to invest. But excuse me, I don't want you to hear that noise in the microphone. I still think that the credit markets aren't determining a movement either way. This is very headline driven. I don't think people are really looking at every part of what is being said before they're investing a ton of money into it. We had Basil talk at 10 a.m. and the whole idea was that they were going to de-escalate Chinese tensions. What does that mean? What is the time frame of de-escalation? Again, as I stated earlier this morning before Basil spoke, this is not a unilateral decision, right? It involves China. And of course, you have Trump speaking afterwards saying, listen, if we're going to do it, it might be 60, 50%, which would still be, does not warrant movement like this in the SPY or the composite or the Dow Jones Industrial. Of course, we flipped below 40,000 in the Dow Jones. So just be careful when you do it. Just know what this is, right? Which is a very volatile, headline-driven market. It is clear that people are trying to find a reason to push this thing back up to November, December, and beginning of January highs. I do not believe that is the proper kind of reference point people should be having, because I don't see a reason why the market pumped the way it did. Fundamentally, of course, there's a lot of just capital flowing through the market, but this is starting to slow down a little bit, right? We take a look at the composite, trading up 2.65% at 16,732, with the Dow Jones Industrial trading up 0.98% at 39,569. Russell Futures also up 1.54% at 1928. Again, this was up like 3.3% earlier this morning. The dollar itself, okay, we're at 99.81. We are creeping back up to that 100 level, which is somewhat positive, right? That might be an indication that you're seeing some kind of confidence come back into the dollar, into the U.S. market. Still taking a look at the 10-year Treasury yield, we're hanging right at 4.38% here, okay? So that's not really improving. You have the Treasury, 2-year Treasury, up 3.86%, or trading at that for yield. And then your 30-year Treasury yield is about 4.83. So not really a lot of movements in the credit markets there. That, I think, should tell us some stuff, at least about the validity of the move. Cost of capital is still somewhat high. The Japanese yen continues to appreciate relative to the dollar. So, these are, the point being is what is improving on that side, which is really fundamental, right? That could suggest that you're going to continue to see this kind of movement and that we might get somewhat of a trend reversal. And really the trend that we've been seeing, I was sort of with a big sell-off. It comes up, goes back down, okay, maybe not as much, tries to go up and reach where it crashed from, doesn't get it, and we're chopping essentially, right? So you got some pretty extreme choppiness in this market. I think that the bond market is explaining that, currency market to a certain extent is explaining that. And yeah, I mean, I don't personally play that because I think we have a lot of, I mean, I will play it, of course, but like, you know, about resetting a major position and, you know, kind of hoping for an improvement of conditions. I don't see that yet, right? And again, we've been tricked like this before, right, with this market, actually multiple times. So anyways, you have crude coming off 2.36%, some issues with OPEC Plus and Kazakhstan. The decision to accelerate output revival in April led to a plunge in crude prices, aiming to discipline overproducing members like Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's energy minister rejected pressure to cut output, prioritizing national interests over OPEC Plus obligations, leading to fears of an escalating price war. OPEC Plus members may also seek, this is from Bloomberg, may seek another supply hike for June, which could exacerbate, of course, global oil surplus and worsen the bearish outlook. How about that? It's always so strange seeing like very large cartels that consist of very different cultures with very different goals. That was always kind of my big argument against BRICS as well. Kind of on that note, you know, you consider, this is some headline news I think we should at least talk about, because if something does pop off, you might get some problems. But so there's obviously a terrorist attack in India, in the Kashmir region, a few days ago. India has basically rescinded all visas for Pakistani citizens. They have to go back within 48 hours. They've closed the border with Pakistan in that region, and then they are getting rid of the, unilaterally getting rid of the Indus water deal that they've had for a while. That's escalatory, I guess you could say. Don't know what Pakistan's response would be. I'm not sure if either of them really do want a prolonged kind of conflict. But, you know, of course, China has been in conflict with India, a very cold one, over border disputes for quite a while, particularly in that Kashmir region. And recently, of course, China has cozied up to Pakistan in quite a way. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with that. But moral of the story is, you know, these kind of diverse cartels, as I said, or, you know, economic groups can run into issues like this quite a bit, and it does hinder, you know, any kind of competition they might provide. Folks, you stay right there. We'll be right back. We're talking a little bit about some Tesla. I read some stuff in the report, kind of strange. Be right back.